Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Pieware Night School. Tonight, we're going to have a basics overview, and we're going to do some in-depth Q&A on the software. We got a couple of questions already lined up. We had some from Henry. He wanted to have a couple of ideas going from scatters to different shapes and how rotating squares into other forms. So let's take a look at that. And I can weave in another question from Ken. He's wanting to try to do more free-form running. We can kind of intertwine that for moving from a scatter to a shape. So let me put my screen up here. Okay. Get that out of the way here. Okay, so let's start with a scatter. In version 10, we added a scatter function. Prior to version 10, what we had available was the point tool. So you can actually click and place performers around and scatter it like so. That did require a click per performer. In version 10, we did add a scatter function. It was built into the filled shape tool, which was previously our block tool. So the new scatter function, basically you define a scatter area. You define the number of positions you want. Let's say I want 50 performers, and I want to choose to scatter places. Okay, and that's going to scatter them in amongst around there. You can set the distance here. This is the minimum distance that they have to be away from each other. So I want to be 1 yard. This is a distance in yards. So I don't want anybody closer than a yard, or if I don't want anybody closer than 2 yards. Okay, and that gives you the ability to randomize your scatter. So I've got my 50 people out here. And go ahead and accept that. All right, and let's go ahead and we're not going to be able to pull those in probably in 16 counts. Let's do a 48 count transition just for grins to get everything in here. So let's say we wanted to pull them down into a block. So I'm going to do my block tool, and I'm going to just place out a block for now. Let's say I want to do 10 wide and 5 tall. Okay, so I get the block in the distance that I want. Say I want left to right 4, front to back. If I wanted to do 4 here, we can do that, and then adjust them here. Adjust the angle, relocate. Okay, so I've got my block centered here. Now, right now, my matching lines are all wacky, and that's because of the matching order is automatically generated based on the way in which my performers are grouped and the way in which the new form is created. So since I clicked my first point here, my second point here, it's going to make lines this way, and then it's going to have rows of lines. So it's going to be position 1, continue on, then it's going to come back here, match, and go so forth and so on. And since I did a scatter, this is all basically zigzagged inside of each other. In 9, we added proximity match, and we honed it a little bit more in the version 10. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and click proximity match, and that's going to give me a cleaner vision of what we can do. So right there, this may not be a one-stop shop for us because maybe we have some overlapping or it's not doing exactly what we want, but this should get you fairly close to what you are wanting or close to collapsing that scatter back into a form. So let's go ahead and test that. We're doing pretty good here. It's looking pretty decent, pretty decent. This one may be traveling too far for me, so what I can do is I can come in and flip these. So I can just drag and flip those. Let's see, which guy is that one? That one's okay. Maybe want these to flip around. Let's see, this one that's inside. You can also test the animation just by dragging your scrubber here. So you can move this back and forth and see the flow very easily. Let's see, which one is that one? Let's have these swap. See how that flows in. There's a little bit more motion. I got some close here. No, looks like we are moving. So now this gives us our scatter down into a block. And right now, at this point in time, we don't have an animation mode for running, but when I animate, it's going to be marching to their stride size. So I went ahead and did this at a 48 count transition. It's a lot of time for us to get there. I can actually come in and adjust that down. Let's say I want to actually just resize that. What was our... I'm just going to put that back up there. Our largest stride is an 8-5. So we can probably pull another 8 counts off of there, maybe 16 before this gets too unmanageable without having to adjust the block size. We can come in and do our, where's our count editor? Let's shorten our transition. Let's say 40 counts first. 6 to 5, 6, 7 to 5 is where we're going to be here. That's one person's going to be cooking. So now we can come in and animate that. I'm just going to show different stride sizes for different people. And right now I have everybody facing forward, and I can also make them face into the direction they're marching. That's all done in your visuals editor, depending on the effect that you're wanting to go for. So before I move on to the next step, are there any questions about that? Let's see here. Participants, here we go. Henry, from our discussion earlier, does that help with the scatter to a block function? Just want to make sure that we've got a good grasp of that before we move forward. All right, Roland, you had a... I'll just blow this block back out to a scatter, and then we can kind of go from there. What I did, Richard, what I did is I used the count editor, and I used the shorten, lengthen transition. So what I did is I actually shortened this by 8 counts. What it's going to have done is taken 8 counts here and refloated everything over that new transition. So instead of having a jump or anything like that. It automatically reassigns the transition for you. Okay, so Eddie has a question on blowing it back out to a scatter. So we just do it in the reverse order. So let's say I actually want to scatter back out into a different type of shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, let's say I want to make a star just for grins. So I'm just going to make my star shape. All right, I'm going to lock in my 50 people into my scatter. 2 stride distance. Not enough room. Let's do a 1 stride. So we can kind of get it scattered in that star area. Oh, hold on, that's a bad star area. Let's do this one. Okay. So now we have our scattered in our star, just for an example. Then we're going to use our proximity match. Okay, so we can actually maybe pull this back down where it's centered over a little bit more. Let's proximity match that again. So now I can, oh, that's not what I wanted. Let's see here. Proximity match, there we go. No, proximity match. Do we have anything messed up? Let's see. So what I did there is, let's say I went ahead and accepted my form. So I accepted my form, and then I realized when I came back that my transition is not exactly what I wanted. Okay, so what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to keep exactly what I have, but I want to flip some people around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and then paste. Okay, so I select my form, I copy and paste. I still have my proximity match function, which is going to be the same since I haven't done anything. And then I can come in and flip people just as I did before. Or I can do a custom match. So let's see. I'm going to have these 2 flip. There we go. And then this person, let's have that one go there. So I have some more motion. Let's see. Which that one is going to go here. Not what I want. This one to go here and this one to go here. That should give us a little bit better. Why is that not working for me? Let's see. Here to here. Here to. Maybe I'm stacked on top of that person. I'm gonna shift that over. Okay, I want this person. That's correct. This person is correct. That looks correct. Let's try it again. There we go. Now we're no longer crossing there. Put that back where it was. And then we just run back through the few things that we want to retweak. So I've got that person. There we go. Eddie, does this help? And now we have a scatter into a different type of form. Okay. We also can take that scatter and let's say I wanted to rotate it. I can actually rotate that as well. Now it's going to create that scatter and curve path, everybody. Henry, this is kind of what we were talking about earlier, where you can rotate into something. So we can accept that and see what our, let's see, looking at 14.5. So a very small stride size. So at that point in time, we can either expand this out or shorten the transition length here if we want, or make it, let's say I wanted to actually shorten this into a smaller range and then actually add a hold after that. I can, let's shorten this from 40 to 32. And I can add a hold. So now I have my transition, my rotating scatter with an 8 count hold. And the stride size on that is 11 to 11.8. So you can use the new count track feature to make separate elements running, transitioning at different times and speeds. Yes, so basically in version 11, when we add the multiple count track function, you're able to define different page tabs for each layer. And you can assign each layer to a different group, essentially. That way it's going to move your anchors easily for you. And it's going to jump around. And so instead of adding a sub-page tab here, you may have your normal, I have my 40 count transition that I can normally click on. And let's say I have another, I click on my next layer down and I can select that secondary range that I've got set up for that the subsection of people that we're working with. All right, let's back this up. And Roland had a question. He upgraded a 10.1 and he got a file did not save correctly notification. That, without knowing the exact message, I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly what had happened. Normally, if you get a file was able to be saved, I would try saving it in a different location. Normally what that is something is tying up that location and it's unable to save it properly there. And Omar, that's something we've discussed, a monthly subscription. However, we don't have a final answer on that. I'd be interested to hear what you would be looking for that. We always like to take all of the input we have and put it in for everything that we consider. So looks like Jerry's holding his hand up. Do we have a question, Jerry? If you want to type it in, we can answer it for you. Go ahead and get prepped up here for our next example. see here. All right. Alrighty. Also, if you haven't already done so, we do have our swag store available. I'll put the link in. But we do have our swag store available, and we've had a lot of people asking for swag. We now have it available. This store will be open until March 14th. Keep in mind that is also the Pi Day sale. So we'll be having our annual Pi Day sale. So keep a lookout for the full details on that coming soon. Awesome, Doug. Jerry, are you getting that same version message now, or was it a one-time thing? I know if you had been running on a beta version previously, there were some changes that did have a message pop up when you saved a file from that beta version to the final version. Okay. Rotating. Let's take a look. Let's split this out. We have 50 people. Let's pull that out. Let's split these off. Okay, so we had a question from Henry about rotating things out into other forms. So we have our block here. We can go ahead and let's say we build a wedge. Let's actually build the wedge here. I'm going to select this here. I'm actually going to use our filled shape tool. I'm going to do 25. Let's see, 4 and 4. Let's see here. So it actually gives us 25. Looks like it. So we can proximity match to pull it over. But that's not exactly what I want to do. So what I'm wanting to do is I want to have this full rotation happen. So have it rotate out of this block into this triangle. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to basically, well, let's undo that. I'm going to accept this form. Okay. What I'm going to do is modify it and create a transition, a custom transition based on the idea that I'm trying to create. So I've got my triangle created like I want it. I'm going to now build it like so. Okay, so really what I'm wanting to do is I want this to, wait, not exactly what I want to do. Let's get this locked in. Whole step. Okay. I'm going to put it into a position. I'm going to copy and paste and do my proximity match. So now I've created my wedge. I've completely redone the matching now to a new location. So my transition is going to look like so. So this block is going to neatly just squish out into my wedge, right? So I got it like I want it. Let's paste it. I have that form still copied. I want to do the same thing with this one. So I'm actually going to select that group of people and I'm going to do paste. And it's still matched over here. I'm going to open my mirroring options and I want it inverted horizontally. So it's going to flip it. So when I flip that, there we go. Now I want this to be my anchor location. I'm going to put my position right here. Okay, I'm going to do my proximity match. So now I'm going to have a nice little squish out. It's maybe not exactly what I want. I want, say, maybe this one here, this one here, whoop, this one here. Come on, flip. There we go. So that's a little bit better. Maybe these two. Okay, so now we're squishing in. So now I have my two wedges. But I want these rotated out and I want them flat over here. Okay, so now I'm going to come in, rotate. Let's say I wanted to rotate these flat. 45 degrees. Oh, negative 45 degrees. There we go. Maybe just a little bit more. There we go. I accept that. So that's the general idea I want this to look like, but I want it moved over. So now I'm going to use my push tool. I've got my compound to move function selected. So now, as you can see here, I've got that rotation effect in, and when I move with my compound push, it's going to have a curved pathway still. And there we go. So I'm now building this out. Henry, did this kind of make sense for what you were looking for? I can just kind of play with it. And now that I've moved it into a new position, it may not do exactly what I want. So what I can do is I can come in and copy and paste on these and flip them around if I wanted to adjust the order here. And same thing goes here. So I wanted to do something different. Don't like the way that is. And all I'm doing is I'm just blending tools together. That's the neat thing is you can just kind of layer things on top of each other to build different types of maneuvers. Any questions about that? Let me clear this out. Before I delete this out, is there any questions on the different transitions that we've created, going from a scatter to a block, or a block out to a different filled form? All right, let's move on to something else. Delete these performers and okay, so we had a question about kind of a double helix type thing. I don't know that I can go into that so much, but we're going to do something similar. Ken, I'm hoping that it's going to be here by June 1. So that is a big hope. It really depends on how beta testing goes. I don't like to give hard dates until we've had some more testing in on it. So the first release will be out before summer. Let's put it that way. Okay. All right, so let's copy this. Let's have this basically flip. So I'm going to paste it, and I want this to flip. So I'm going to actually paste it vertically, right? And we get that type of inversion here. And then you can also use that to shift down. To create a shifted inversion. The other thing is you can let's delete that transition. I'm going to use my follow the leader tool. Let's actually go this way. And my curved shape. Let's get a little bit softer end here. So what I'm doing is I am getting one more dip in the road here. So now what this does is it'll animate like so. Maybe not the exact hump that I'm looking for, but that's a general idea. What I'm going to do now is actually, instead of having that move forward, I'm actually going to have it stay on top of each other. So now I'm going to get my helix movement. So that gives us our sidewinding snake type maneuver. Quite fun. Let's Back that up real quick and do it one more time. So what I'm going to do is let's have it start here. Okay. Maybe we have a 3-step interval to widen it up a little bit. I'm going to copy and paste that and invert it. Okay. So we do the same type of maneuver over our 40 counts. Rough all the leader. Back here. That's softer top to it. All right. Maybe push it a little bit further. Make it look a little bit more like the others. There we go. That's close. Do the same here. So we get more of our helix. So it's going to look like this. Instead of having them march downfield, we're going to come back and you're going to need to shift them one at a time because a compound shape can only be moved once one at a time. Do this, grab our second one, do this, stack them back here. So now, yay, we have our double helix effect. Any questions about that? Yeah. Let's pull that out of the real view, just for funsies. And then we have our double helix spinning. All right. Are there any other questions? I think that comes to the kind of the end of what we have. Oh, we had one other one. Looks like going from a wedge to a box or a circle. So let's do that one. End on that one. Any questions about a double helix type effect before we reset and go again? All right, let's take a look at our next. So let's do a say. No, can't decide which way I want to go. Okay, so we've got 25. And then we can blow this out to a square, or we can blow it out to we can do a pentagon. Proximity match can get us kind of there, depending on what you want to do. It's a little bit long for a transition. Let's cancel that out. Let's go to 16 counts or so. Proximity match that out. Gets us kind of there, but not exactly. Let's put that one, put that one. Wedge out to this, or we can go into a circle just as easily. Proximity match, it'll get you pretty much there if you're wanting to go more straight out. And do that, and so we wanted to rotate that at the same time, so expanding that block or that wedge out into our circle. And look at individual pathways here. And click on one of those and see what it is. You can come in and edit individual performers with your adjuster tool. For this type of thing, sometimes you might need to have some pathways shown as arrows. So you can actually add arrows. Not that you'd want to put all arrows on there, but there we go. Create arrows from paths. Now we've got 25 arrows out, showing our pathway how to get there. So if you like that one, then let's do this. Get rid of all those arrows. Let's get our circle here. Along the same lines, we got our wagon wheel. It's more along the lines of a picture show. So I want to do 360 degree. That's correct. 360 degrees. And we're going to use our push tool. Now we're going to be rolling down the field. Let me go ahead and accept that so we don't have all those pathways. But now we have that farm rolling across the field, wagon wheel style. All right. Well, unless y'all have any other questions, I think we'll go ahead and sign off for tonight. I think we've done some pretty cool stuff tonight. A little bit of basics, a little bit of advanced, a little bit of fun. I always love doing these things for you guys. I hope y'all get some good stuff out of them. So, until next time, hope everybody has a wonderful evening.